All right, so here is my review of creatine monohydrate. So as you can see, it's a flavorless, odorless powder that you can add to water, mostly warm water so that it actually diffuses, because it does not diffuse in the slightest in cold or lukewarm water. I learned that the hard way. What I was doing before I started mixing it with warm water is I would just pour a bunch of creatine into a cup, and then I'd fill it with lukewarm water, and I would just stir it as much as I could, trying to get the molecules and the powder to just swish around in the water, and then I would just chug as much as I could, and there'd be like a huge clump at the bottom every single time. So I would just repeat the process over and over again. I would just add more water, stir, drink, add more water, stir, drink. And I ended up drinking like 3 cups full of water, like hundreds of milliliters of water just to get in like this much creatine powder. And I realized that is the silliest thing that you could ever be doing. So I quickly stopped that, and I started using warm and hot water. My roommate actually got a tea kettle, like an electronic tea kettle. You just press a button and it starts boiling the water like that. Super easy, super convenient. So I just add the powder to this cup. I take my tea water, my hot boiling water, I load it in here, and then I just drink away, and it's literally just like water. I also used to mix in vitamin C into my creatine water, just because vitamin C has that same issue where sometimes it diffuses well and other times it just, if you use cold water with vitamin C powder, it really doesn't diffuse that well. If you use lukewarm, you can kind of get away with it sometimes if you drink it fast enough. If you just heat it up and stir it around, it will diffuse. I guarantee you that. So without further ado, here is my review of creatine monohydrate water. Okay, well, this one's gonna be a short review. It tastes like water. It just tastes like water. It just tastes like warm, boiled water. It's not bad. In terms of the physiological effect that I felt from using creatine, in terms of promoting intramuscular water retention, not just muscle, intramuscular, I don't know if I've really noticed it that much. To be honest with you, I don't know if I'm just using creatine incorrectly, because I've never really been like truly consistent with my creatine use, where I might use it like 5 days in a row, and then I might miss out on the weekend. Let's say I do it Monday through Friday, I might miss it on Saturday and Sunday, and then I might do it again Monday through Friday the following week. Or I'll do Monday, Tuesday, I might miss a Wednesday, and then I might do a Thursday and then miss a Friday. So I've never done creatine consistently every single day for like a month. I've never fully committed to it, which is my own fault. I probably should just try committing to it. But because of that, because of my, I guess, like ineffective use of creatine, I haven't noticed any gains. I kind of suspected, and I was incorrect in the suspicion, but I suspected that if I had just taken it 5 days, at least 5 days a week, it would have some effect on me. Because I figured if you miss a day, if your creatine stores are still saturated, you can just resaturate them if they lose any of that percentage. If they go from 95% saturated back down to like 70, if you take it the next day, I assumed that it would bring it back up again to at least like 80, maybe 90, and then next day bring it back up to 95. I think I was mistaken in that, because I haven't noticed anything. I did notice though, when I was using it, that I did feel more energized if I was doing like a chest press or like a curl or something. I was noticing that before I was doing creatine, let's say for chest press, for example, I would crank out a bunch of chest. And then I'd have to spend like 3-4 minutes just resting, just like sitting on the bench, just waiting for my my ATP to return back to my muscles, back to get my energy back into my muscles for the most part. But after doing creatine or after using it consistently, I have noticed that when I do chest press, it usually only takes me like a minute. Like it's definitely reduced the amount of waiting time that I've had to wait between sets. But I don't know if that necessarily translates to me doing more sets. You know, if I were to do, let's say muscle hypertrophy is fixated on the idea of progressive overload and just a stimulus, basically tension. If I were to do 5 sets of chest press for an exercise for a chest day, and that chest press, instead of taking me 45 minutes, it takes me 30 minutes or 25 minutes, but I still do the same volume and intensity. Well, I guess you could say intensity has been altered, but if I still do the same volume, is it gonna promote hypertrophy? If I'm doing the same sets and reps with the same weight, it just takes me less time in between each set. I don't know if that would promote hypertrophy. I don't know. But it's like, why not? You know, like, what is creatine? Creatine is like, per scoop, it's probably like 10 cents. You know, it's like pennies, it's peanuts. I think I bought a huge bag of like bulk supplements creatine for like $20, and I've had it for 3 months now, maybe 4 months now. And like I said, I use it inconsistently, but I use it enough that most other powders or most other supplements would have been far depleted by now. I'd probably have to reorder. You know, if I use creatine or if I use protein powder as consistently as I use creatine, I'd have gone through like 3 containers of protein powder right now, and I'm only like halfway or maybe 2/3 of the way through my creatine. So it does last you a while. If it works for you, if you suspect that it would work for you, I would recommend that you do it, because it basically costs you nothing to use. And if you worry about time, if you have an issue with timing out your workouts because you have a busy schedule, I would say do it, because it can save you like 20 minutes. I know it saved me like 20 minutes per session, just because I have more energy in my muscles and it's easier for me to create more phosphate, you know, creatine monohydrate, giving out that phosphate molecule to ADP, to then make it ATP, to then break down back to ADP. So it does help. It does help. I don't know about specific sets. I don't think I've experienced any like significant increase in the amount of reps or sets that I do. I guess you could say reps per set. I don't know if I have more reps in each set because of creatine, or if it's just because of my own training regimen, which is centered around, as every training regimen should be centered around, progressive overload. So I'm not sure. Is it the creatine that's letting me do more reps with higher weight, or is it just my own progressive overload where I'm, you know, hitting the gym pretty frequently, I'm hitting the muscles that I want to hit pretty frequently, and therefore I'm getting heavier with more reps with each muscle group that I intend to target. So I'm not sure. In terms of the drink itself, it tastes like nothing. You know, it just tastes like water. So would I recommend creatine? Well, on a T channel, probably not. If you are into exercising, specifically weight training, strength training, this is probably not the best for cardio or any sort of like endurance training. You know, if you're doing like swimming or running or high intensity training, like interval training, probably not. But if you're into deadlifting, chest pressing, curling, pull downs, anything like that, anything involving load, I would say try it, because it works differently for everyone. You know, maybe it doesn't work as well on me, but maybe it works really well for you. Additionally, I think it's kind of useful if you have certain things in your diet that you are omitting for ethical, moral, environmental, physical reasons, such as, you know, if you're omitting red meat, for example, then your creatine levels could be not deficient because your body naturally produces it, but they could be optimized. Because right now they're at a steady level, but you could increase your creatine levels to make it more optimal for strength training. And I know personally that's why I did creatine, because I don't eat red meat. Sometimes I do, but for the most part, I'm not eating red meat on a regular basis, or any meat for that matter, on a regular basis. So because of that, and those meats, like red meat, for example, has creatine in it, enough to more so saturate your creatine than just a standard diet would. So because I'm not eating these meats, I thought creatine would help. I don't know. Try it. Just try it. Let me know what you think. It could be better. It could be worse. It's not going to make you blow up, or you're not going to become Arnold Schwarzenegger overnight. But it may provide some strength gains if you pair it with the right exercise routine. And that's another thing I want to highlight is if you take creatine and you're not doing strength training, just stop taking creatine. It doesn't do anything for you. I mean, the only thing it's doing for you is maybe making your muscles look minutely bigger, just because, and not actually bigger. It doesn't actually increase the density of the muscle fiber. It just increases intramuscular water retention. So maybe if you're worried about vanity, if you're vain and you want to look swole AF all the time, then be my guest and have creatine. But if you actually want strength gains, pair it with strength training and progressively overload, and it might work for you. So this has been my review. I'd give this a 4 out of 5 stars. 3 out of 5 stars. 2.5 out of 5 stars, actually. Yeah, let's just do like a 5 out of 10. Because it's not bad, but it's not good. It does kind of what it intends to do. And maybe it's just my own fault in how I take it and my own routine. So I'm not going to give it below a 5, but I'm also not satisfied with it enough to give it above a 5. So 5 out of 10, try it yourself. Maybe it works differently on you. This has been Anteaoxidant Creatine Monohydrate review. By the way, Creatine Monohydrate is the creatine to take. If you're going to take the hydrolyzed or the instantized or the micronized creatines, take it at your own discretion, because creatine monohydrate is the one that's been researched for the past 30 plus years with thousands. The most researched supplement in history is creatine. And every single research has to do with monohydrate. So just take monohydrate as a good control group, and then maybe if you are seeing gains, you can switch it to micronized or instantized to see if it enhances or stifles your gains. So yeah, Anteaoxidant Creatine Monohydrate review. Boom.